Hello, I'm Peter from Wiltshire Libraries. Thank you for joining me for today's edition of Tea and Chat, where myself and colleagues from Wiltshire Libraries share readings of poems and writing with you. Today I've got a hot lemon and ginger tea as I have a cough, which I apologise for in advance, but I hope you've got a favourite beverage to hand with you. It's going to be worth sticking with me for today's festive edition just to see if I can get through without coughing too many times. The theme of this tea and chat is winter and the festive season, and we'll be looking at how this time of year inspires reflection on what's past, as well as being a time for celebrations and looking to the future. Christina Rossetti wrote the poem In the Bleak Midwinter, which was later set to music and turned into the well-known Christmas carol. The opening stanza of the poem uses beautifully sparse language to sum up the harshest of winter weather in just a few lines. In the bleak midwinter, frosty wind made moan. Earth stood hard as iron, water like a stone. Snow had fallen, snow on snow, snow on snow. In the bleak midwinter, long ago. The winter Christina Rossetti describes certainly does seem bleak. However, other poets find a magic in being out walking in the countryside at this time of year. Here's a poem called Woods in Winter by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. When winter winds are piercing chill, and through the hawthorn blows the gale, with solemn feet I tread the hill that overbrows the lonely vale. O'er the bare upland and away, through the long reach of desert woods, the embracing sunbeams chastely play and gladden these deep solitudes. Where twisted round the barren oak the summer vine in beauty clung, and summer winds the stillness broke, the crystal icicle is hung. Where from their frozen urns mute springs pour out the river's gradual tide, shrilly the skater's iron rings and voices fill the woodland side. Alas, how changed from the fair scene, when birds sang out their mellow lay, and winds were soft, and woods were green, and the song ceased not with the day. But still wild music is abroad, pale desert woods within your crowd, and gathering winds in hoarse accord amid the vocal reeds pipe loud. Chill airs and wintry winds, my ear has grown familiar with your song. I hear it in the opening year. I listen, and it cheers me long. That was Woods in Winter by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. I love that last line where he's invigorated by listening to winter winds and thinking of the new year. And he says, I hear it in the opening year. I listen, and it cheers me long. I really like the way he describes how taking a walk, even in the depths of winter, can lift you up and gladden the heart. Talking of which, I'd like to make a programme recommendation. BBC 4 have recently shown a second series of the BBC programme Winter Walks and a new series called Walking With, where celebrities record a film of themselves taking a walk through the countryside and usually read a poem that inspires or moves them during the episode. All of the Winter Walks and Walking With programmes are available to watch on BBC iPlayer. I particularly enjoyed the winter walk with the Reverend Kate Botley starting at Jervo Abbey, and the episode Walking with Jim Moyer, also known as Vic Reeves, in which he walks part of the Kent coast path to Dungeness, chatting to people they meet on the way. It's always interesting to see other programmes that explore the positive effects of both talking and engaging with poetry, just like these Wiltshire Libraries tea and chat sessions. As usual, I'll put the details of any programmes, poems or books I mention on the Wiltshire Mobile Libraries Facebook page after this session. Right, time for another poem. This one is a short, enigmatic Christmas and winter poem by the American poet Emily Dickinson, with more to it than meets the eye or ear at first hearing. It's called Before the Ice is in the Pools. Before the ice is in the pools, before the skaters go, or any check at nightfall is tarnished by the snow. Before the fields have finished, before the Christmas tree, wonder upon wonder will arrive to me. I don't know what she means by the ending of the poem. It sets up the expectation that something is going to happen. Then those final lines, wonder upon wonder will arrive to me, but doesn't say what this wonder will be or how it will be revealed. But that's what I love best about poetry, when it doesn't give you the answers and leaves you room to put your own interpretation on it. Let's hear Before the Ice is in the Pools by Emily Dickinson again, and listen for that twist at the end that turns what could be a simple little poem about early winter into something much more mysterious. Before the ice is in the pools, before the skaters go, or any check at nightfall is tarnished by the snow. Before the fields have finished, before the Christmas tree, wonder upon wonder will arrive to me. Wintertime and the end of the year has always prompted thinking about the passing of time. The Anglo-Saxon chronicler Bede wrote the following account of a speech made in the great hall of King Edwin, king of the Northumbrians. Bede reports that one of the king's chief men gave the following speech in which he compared man's life to that of a sparrow flying through a house in winter. The present life of man upon earth, O king, seems to me, in comparison with that time which is unknown to us, like the swift flight of a sparrow through the house wherein you sit at supper in winter with your aldermen and thanes, while the fire blazes in the midst and the hall is warmed, but the wintry storms of rain or snow are raging abroad. The sparrow, flying in at one door and immediately out at another, whilst he is within, is safe from the wintry tempest, but after a short space of fair weather he immediately vanishes out of your sight, passing from winter into winter again. So this life of man appears for a little while, but of what is to follow or what went before we know nothing at all. That was A Sparrow's Flight Through King Edwin's Great Hall by the Venerable Bede. In contrast to sitting by the fire and reflecting on time flashing past, children often have a view that's very much focused in the now. Here's a poem by Robert Louis Stevenson that's told from a child's perspective, excitedly getting up at the crack of dawn on a winter's day. Wintertime by Robert Louis Stevenson. Late lies the wintry sun abed, a frosty, fiery sleepyhead. Blinks but an hour or two, and then a blood-red orange sets again. Before the stars have left the skies, at morning in the dark I rise, and shivering in my nakedness, by the cold candle bathe and dress. Close by the jolly fire I sit, to warm my frozen bones a bit, or with a reindeer sled explore the colder countries round the door. When to go out, my nurse doth wrap me in my comforter and cap. The cold wind burns my face and blows its frosty pepper up my nose. Black are my steps on silver sod, thick blows my frosty breath abroad, and tree and house and hill and lake are frosted like a wedding cake. That was Wintertime by Robert Louis Stevenson. However, just to show that you're never too old to enjoy the festive season, here is an extract from Charles Dickens' story, A Christmas Carol, where Ebenezer Scrooge wakes up after being visited by the spirits of Christmas. I don't know what day of the month it is, said Scrooge. I don't know how long I've been among the spirits. I don't know anything. I'm quite a baby. Never mind. I don't care. I'd rather be a baby. Halloo, whoop, hello there. He was checked in his transports by the churches ringing out the lustiest peals he had ever heard. Clash, clang, hammer, ding, dong, bell, bell, dong, ding, hammer, clang, clash. Oh, glorious, glorious. Running to the window, he opened it and put out his head. No fog, no mist, clear, bright, jovial, stirring cold, cold piping for the blood to dance to, golden sunlight, heavenly sky, sweet fresh air, merry bells. Oh, glorious, glorious. What's today? Cried Scrooge, calling downward to a boy in Sunday clothes, who perhaps had loitered in to look about him. Eh? Returned the boy, with all his might of wonder. What's today, my fine fellow? Said Scrooge. Today? Replied the boy. Why, Christmas Day. It's Christmas Day, said Scrooge to himself. I haven't missed it. The spirits have done it all in one night. They can do anything they like. Of course they can. Of course they can. Hello, my fine fellow. Hello, returned the boy. Do you know the poulterers in the next street but one at the corner? Scrooge inquired. I should hope I did, replied the lad. An intelligent boy, said Scrooge. A remarkable boy. Do you know whether they've sold the prize turkey that was hanging up there? Not the little prize turkey, the big one. What, the one as big as me? Returned the boy. What a delightful boy, said Scrooge. It's a pleasure to talk to him. Yes, my buck. It's hanging there now, replied the boy. Is it? Said Scrooge. Go and buy it. Walk on, exclaimed the boy. No, no, said Scrooge. I'm in earnest. Go and buy it, and tell them to bring it here, and that I may give them the direction where to take it. Come back with the man, and I'll give you a shilling. Come back with him in less than 5 minutes, and I'll give you half a crown. The boy was off like a shot. He must have had a steady hand at a trigger, who could have got a shot off half so fast. I'll send it to Bob Cratchit's, whispered Scrooge, rubbing his hands and splitting with a laugh. He shan't know who sent it. It's twice the size of Tiny Tim. Joe Miller never made such a joke as sending it to Bob's will be. The hand in which he wrote the address was not a steady one, but write it he did, somehow, and went downstairs to open the street door, ready for the coming of the poulterer's man. As he stood there, waiting his arrival, the knocker caught his eye. I shall love it as long as I live, cried Scrooge, patting it with his hand. I scarcely ever looked at it before. What an honest expression it has in its face. It's a wonderful knocker. Here's the turkey. Hello, whoop. How are you? Merry Christmas. It was a turkey. He never could have stood upon his legs, that bird. He would have snapped 'em short off in a minute like sticks of sealing wax. Why, it's impossible to carry that to Camden Town, said Scrooge. You must have a cab. The chuckle with which he said this, and the chuckle with which he paid for the turkey, and the chuckle with which he paid for the cab, and the chuckle with which he recompensed the boy, were only to be exceeded by the chuckle with which he sat down breathless in his chair again, and chuckled till he cried. Shaving was not an easy task, for his hand continued to shake very much, and shaving requires attention, even when you don't dance while you're at it. But if he had cut the end of his nose off, he would have put a piece of sticking plaster over it and been quite satisfied. He dressed himself, all in his best, and at last got out into the street. The people were by this time pouring forth, as he had seen them with the ghost of Christmas present. And walking with his hands behind him, Scrooge regarded every one with a delighted smile. He looked so irresistibly pleasant, in a word, that 3 or 4 good-humoured fellows said, Good morning, sir, a Merry Christmas to you. And Scrooge said often afterwards that of all the blithe sounds he had ever heard, those were the blithest in his ears. That was an extract from A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Now, it gets read a lot at this time of year, but to finish with, I feel I have to read the poem A Visit from St. Nicholas, which is credited variously to the American writer Clement Clark Moore, but also to another American writer called Major Henry Livingston Jr., and sometimes just anonymous, but known more commonly as Twas the Night Before Christmas. So, this is 'Twas the night before Christmas. 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in the hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mamma in her kerchief, and I in my cap, had just settled our brains for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave a lustre of midday to objects below. And what to my wondering eyes did appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer, with a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment he must be St. Nick. More rapid than eagles his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle mount to the sky, so up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with a sleigh full of toys and St. Nicholas too. And then in a twinkling I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard on his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of his pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him, in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk, and laying a finger aside of his nose, and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew, like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim, ere he drove out of sight, Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night. I hope you've enjoyed this Tea and Chat session from Wiltshire Libraries. This is the last session of the year, so I wish you all a Merry Christmas. By the way, if you are lucky enough to get a good book in your stocking or under the Christmas tree this year, once you've finished it, if you think others might enjoy it, please do consider donating it to your local library. Look out for the return of Tea and Chat sessions in the new year, and until then, goodbye and good reading.